And we're live. Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with Rich Lescouflair. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too much. We did a couple practice runs. So,
Good.
but yeah, so you've got a bunch of credits to your name already, and you were just brought to my attention recently by one of my staff editor over on the website, Doug, and he had backed your Kickstarter. And he's like, hey, you got to check out this thing. So I figured, we'd bring you on and you could tell us all about the thing and the other stuff you're doing, which is really cool. It's exciting stuff. It's got to be more exciting than accounting, unless you're like really into counting beans.
Hopefully none of my coworkers or my boss is watching this video, but I hate accounting. I hate it so much. I just happen to be relatively good at it. So.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, man. Baby still got to eat. So you're a Guild Adept on the DM's Guild. How did that come about?
Well, let's see. But I don't know. Be a good answer? No. I started doing products on DM's Guild maybe about a month after it launched, and I was really excited about getting my stuff in there, about creating new things. DM's Guild at the time was really, really brand new, and nobody really knew exactly what to do with it. When I started putting products out, I decided that I was working with my friend Brian, who owns a gaming store nearby, and he took a look at my stuff, and he said, hey, he's like, the way that you're laying this stuff out, you could probably get some work doing this. That being said, I went to a couple of conventions. I showed people what I was working on, some things that I was working on. I had met Mike Rawls at the Gamma Trade Show. Showed him what I was working on, and I guess I said, hey, if you have anybody that you need to do anything like this, you let me know. That led into a job doing something for Adventures League, which was at the time in Volo's Wake, which I got to work with Sean Merwin and Monica Valentinelli, both extremely awesome. That led into other things, which led into other things, and eventually Chris Lindsay had to send us a message or send me an email saying, hey, I'm forming this thing for DM's Guild called the Guild Adepts. Do you want in? You can't say no. To that. So,
I would think that. And also, guys, there's links to everything that Rich has done that I'm aware of in the description, of course. Because so far your career is a little bit colorful and like all over the place from what I could see, because I did a little e-stalking beforehand, and there's no overlaying theme. It's just like you've got some stuff here and there, and it's all gaming related.
Yeah. I've only really started doing this on the regular maybe about 2 years ago. I haven't been around that long, but I have met a ton of industry people, and the first thing you want to do is just pick their brain, ask them questions, ask them what to do. Do you want to look at this? Do you want to try this? And they're so helpful, friendly. They're excited about what you're doing. It makes you even more excited about what you're doing. And so I just started doing work everywhere. I just, okay, great. I want to do work for D&D. Hey, I want to write my own game, which originally started as just like a set of add-on rules, and then turned into something like, hey, why don't I just build a galaxy around this? Sure, let's do it. And that's what I did since I was a kid. I loved writing stories, and I loved writing adventures for friends. So I just sort of combined that into what I was working on, and that's the way it worked out. So yeah, you'll see my name here, pop here and there. I did some maps for Lewis Porter Jr., who we had spoken about. He just kind of looked over my shoulder while I was in the store one day, and he said, all right, who's paying you to do that? And I said, nobody. And he said, okay, fine, I'm going to pay you to do that. Make me some maps.
Oh, Lewis is a good guy. I like watching his Facebook Live videos.
Yeah, he's chock full of information.
I actually like his phone videos better, and I've complained at him in the past for it because I used to like follow his stuff on YouTube. I'm like, man, get a mic. We can't hear you.
We're still trying to get him to come out to some conventions. So if he's watching this,
well, hopefully, his son's
his name out
a
there.
little older, or maybe his son would enjoy some of that. Bring him along.
Yeah, absolutely.
Family fun.
He'll have fun. And his son will have a great time.
What was the inspiration for your Kickstarter?
It was a number of things. Like I said, originally, so Esper Genesis is 5th edition science fiction game and setting. Originally, it started as just rules. I was doing some mock-up stuff for DM's Guild, and I was like, what would automatic weapons be like? What would space weapons be like? How would they work with armor, different types? And then I got into spaceships, and I started putting together like a little rule set for testing. I brought it to a few people, and they said, okay, where are you going to use this? I was like, I don't know. D&D has a base setting. It's a fantasy setting. This stuff could be used in it, but it doesn't really belong there. I said, well, I need a base setting. Okay, I need aliens. I need new classes. I need vehicles. And then it just blew up into that. My partners, Brian Dalrymple and Eric Weiner. I was writing for them a fantasy adventure, and then the three of us kind of looked at everything and said, well, why don't we just put a company together and start one? So that's when we put together Alligator Alley Entertainment. They had brought over Witch Hunter, which Eric had written for Paradigm Concepts, and then we started this whole Esper Genesis thing, which, again, we announced it in July 2016. It doesn't look anything now like it was when we had first planned it, because we were just like, sci-fi rules. And again, we brought it to some industry people, and they were like, setting and story. And I said, all right, I'm going with setting and story. So that's where it started. The inspiration, let me know if I'm rambling too long, because I tend to do that.
All right.
The inspiration is, let me take all of my favorite stuff. What's all of my favorite stuff from when I was growing up? Star Wars was, my favorite sci-fi of all time. Phantasy Star was my favorite video game setting, the old Sega Genesis one, dating myself there. I loved anime, so Akira, Ghost in the Shell, things like that, TV shows like Firefly, and video games like Mass Effect, which is kind of like the Star Wars of PC gaming. So I said, okay, take all that, mash it up, and make a universe. And that's what I did.
So what made you decide to do it in 5e instead of maybe a system that's already kind of like lends itself to doing a sci-fi game?
I kind of fell out of D&D mode a while ago until 5e came. 5e came out at just the right time when I was putting this whole thing together, because I sort of had in mind of making a sci-fi game and building my own rules around it, and I was playing 5th edition at the time, and I looked at everything. I looked at the Dungeon Master's Guide, and I started noticing, I'm like, hey, kind of like in the vein of the D20, you can take this and really adapt anything to it. And so I took what I already had and took the rules that I made for the 5e, weapons and armor, started putting that together, and it came out a lot better than what I would have expected. 5e is like a callback to when I used to really play and enjoy D&D. So it's fast, it's adaptable, it's easy. People love playing it. It's fun to teach. So 5e was the way to go as far as I'm concerned with that.
Yeah, I hear a lot. I hear a lot of that when people talk about gaming and 5e. It's kind of like I always say it's an amalgamation of all the best parts of all the editions. Like, and literally, they didn't take any risks with 5e, that's for sure. They just basically said, what are the things people like about Dungeons and Dragons? And it seems like they asked that question from edition to edition and then scooped up those parts and put it into one system. But, like I kind of had part of this conversation yesterday but I can't blame them after 4E was such a flop for them and such a divide in the community. You know, they tried being innovative, and no one really cared for that. So,
I kind of thought of, you know, it's the opposite, to be honest. I thought 4E was sort of you know, an attempt to simplify everything. Maybe that's just my general opinion, and it ended up making it more complicated. I was not a 4E fan, but I played it.
Mhm.
You know, I loved a lot of the stories, and a lot of the adventures were great. The system was here and there, but 5E, yeah, they did a don't, you know, if it isn't broken, don't fix it, you know, kind of thing. And they, you know, they put all that together, and it's a great thing. They did come up with a lot of other things that were that made the game simpler, like advantages and disadvantages. That simple rule created a world of difference in speeding up play, and kind of the way they universalized the spell system was really nice. But other than that, yeah, it feels kind of like you're playing, you know, old second edition with some basic D&D, with a couple of things from third edition.
it feels like your favorite edition, whatever that edition was.
Yeah.
But like they even pulled cool things from fourth edition. I'm happy they did.
They did.
You know, the cantrips at will. I like that. I like the ritual casting, and the spells work kind of the same as the 4E powers did. They just learned a valuable lesson. Like, never ever talk about the squares. The first rule of tactical combat is not talk about tactical combat. Like, I feel like there's like little things like that really bugged people. I don't know why, but they did.
That's why I did what I did with Esper Genesis. So the goal by using 5E for Esper Genesis was to keep with the basics of 5th edition, to not stray away, to not change it, to not, like, you know, take Starship Combat and let me create a whole new rule set around it. No, we want it to be the same level of simplicity, the same level of speed, and you know, everybody that can look at it can understand it. So to actually do that, I wanted to try and stay away from adding a new game on top of a game that already works, which is kind of, I feel, what happened with some other editions and other versions of D&D.
So you wanted to capture the familiarity, so someone who knows how to play 5e will essentially come into your game and they'll know the rule set, the basics of it anyway.
Yep. Look at it, open the book, you open the Esper Genesis basic rules and go, oh, okay, yeah, I know what this is. You know, you go to Starship Combat and you go, you know, yes, it works in a different order, but I know what this is. It's all laid out. It's simple enough. It's easy to understand, and most importantly, anything from the official D&D stuff, or anything from another like 5e compatible stuff that doesn't go off the rails, you can plug right into it. You know, that's kind of what I wanted to create, like a base sci-fi setting that you can play other sci-fi settings in, because sci-fi is so huge. It has so many different genres, so many different tropes, and there's no way I'm going to be able to write all of them.
There's a lot out there. That is true. Zarif Gaming has a question for you.
Yeah.
What separates your sci-fi game from other sci-fi games like Starfinder, Star Wars, FFG? I know their own things, just need a reason to pick the third game.
Okay. Well, first off, if you like how D&D works, you're gonna like Esper Genesis. You know, that is primarily the, you know, I also enjoy the Star Wars RPG, but it's a different game. It's also Star Wars. The Esper Genesis universe it's its own thing. It's unique. The races and classes are unique. The concepts are about as unique as I can get for, you know, of course, it's borrowing things from other sci-fi genres. If you love different and new sci-fi settings, this is a game for you. If you like fast-paced D&D play, this is also a game for you. Starfinder, I have looked through the book. I know it doesn't. First off, fifth edition doesn't play like Pathfinder at all. It just doesn't. It's a whole different ball of wax. Starship combat in Starfinder is also, I think, another rule set on top of that rule set, which is the first thing I wanted to avoid. Starship combat in Esper Genesis works pretty much like ground combat, which allows you to actually have it happen at the same time. You can have a guy out in a starfighter, and then you have a crew in like a shuttlecraft all doing their maneuvers at the same time. And meanwhile, that guy down there is fighting off the alien that just crawled into the cargo bay, and it all functions in one flow.
Yeah. Now I know Doug. He speaks really highly of the system and the game, and when he got it, he was very excited, and he's running a Spelljammer 5e game right now. So I believe parts of your game are finding their way into that for sure.
Yeah, he had mentioned something like that. And you'd be surprised. I was actually talking to a guy yesterday who told me the same thing. He said, I'm running a Spelljammer game that has, sci-fi elements in it. I'm like, how many people are running a Spelljammer game?
Well, you know why? Because Wizards of the Coast keeps cramming Forgotten Realms down our throat. And I know, like, fantasy's huge and a bunch of people are like into that world, but it is like the most generic of fantasy settings that they could just put all their stuff in. So, I feel like a lot of people are probably like me, or like, I'd rather see Eberron because it's doing fantasy different, or Dark Sun is doing fantasy different, and Spelljammer is doing fantasy different. When,
True.
Personally for me, when I go to a generic setting, I just homebrew and make up my own stuff.
I tend towards Greyhawk. It's the setting I played in the most, so
yeah.
it's been my favorite. There's a lot of different things you can. Greyhawk is about as generic as you can get, but at the same time, there's so much you can do with all the stuff that's happening there.
Well, yeah, I mean that's true for any setting, campaign setting. There's always, and if you just want stuff to plop in on the table and it's already made for you, then that works. But I guess that's the part that I like, is just like making up the stuff on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
not good at coloring within the lines.
Settings for me is okay. I like this setting, and I'll use the setting. But that's really what it is. It's a backdrop. Everything else that's happening is homebrew games are the best. And not that I knock organized play at all. Organized play, actually, I love for its own aspects too.
Well, organized play is great because it gives people a place to show up and play the game. And it's open to everybody. So absolutely, it serves this role, and it's very much needed. When I play if I play a pre-ran campaign, like I do an annual game for Spelljammer. Thanksgiving Eve, we get together and we play that game. And then I've also done a couple like one shots for 5e and Eberron. Like, I guess when I'm looking at a campaign setting, I like things that I wouldn't have thought of myself. I think that's my main goal when I'm actually running a game is for somebody to because I usually lead with story and setting first when I write an adventure, and the rules can kind of just build themselves around that usually, especially like if you need to come up with something homebrew, it can do that. But at the end of the day, or at the end of the session or whatever, you want your players to go, well, that was different, or hey, I wonder what's going to happen next. I've never seen that before. That is what gets me excited as a writer, as a dungeon master. As it should. Like when you play in a lot of settings anyway, once you get into like the meat of the story, like that stuff unless that stuff is like outlandish or really different than what you're used to, it starts to fall to the side anyway. I was playing in a Greyhawk game online, and after we started getting into the story, like we could have been playing anywhere. It doesn't really matter, and that's not good or bad. It just is, like,
right,
because it has nothing to do with what's going on right now for the most part.
I think the trick is, and that's another important thing when you're running any adventure, is find a way to get your players, not necessarily invested, but involved to at least a point where they feel like their character matters. That their character there is actually doing something that not only matters to the adventure that you're running, but also maybe important to them, their background, their what might happen to their character in the future, so something along those lines. We wanted to do organized play for Esper Genesis, which we're calling the Crucible Core. We wanted to go that route where it's kind of Adventurers League in terms of a base, but when we're running at conventions, we want anybody that's playing at the game to have their character make a decision or a party that performs an action that could invariably change what we're writing next, or something that happens to a particular planet, or could crop up an adventure that we wouldn't have put up before.
Will you be at PAX Unplugged?
I will be.
Nice. We'll have to hang out.
In fact, I was trying to get a few Guild Adepts at my Esper Genesis table.
Oh, nice.
That'd be pretty interesting. Yeah, we'll be at PAX Unplugged. We'll be running Crucible Core there. PAX Unplugged is strange, I guess, as far as scheduling game events, because you can't. So we're trying to figure out what we're doing with that. We are running at GameHoleCon also, and we have a Crucible Core adventure running there on the Friday, I think.
That's also in November, isn't it?
Yep.
I know. I was mapping there from my house. I was like, oh, I can't do another convention this year. I will be at PAX Unplugged though, so I have to try and stay married somehow as well.
I figured I would just try and go to every convention I can this year, and then just take a break next year. Not going anywhere.
Well, I'm trying to pace myself because I have to figure out what conventions I want to go to next year as well. Were you at Gen Con?
I was.
Nice. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, I had a great time. We ran three of our gaming sessions there. We also had a booth where we were actually we were pushing our stuff.
So it's what you do when you're at a convention.
Mostly at Gen Con, most of the time I was standing there selling stuff and running games. But before then, I like running games every once in a while, maybe one or two. But the majority of the time, I like just sitting down at random games and playing, or just sort of wandering around and spending a lot more money than I have. That's the majority of it. Panels. That's what we usually do before we go to conventions. Is my friends and I will sit down and we'll open up the booklet and we'll just kind of do like a scheduling plan of all the panels that we're going to go to. That's pretty much it. I think
I'm not very good at doing conventions. I just show up and figure it out as I go. Gen Con was the most organized, but that was only because I had a couple events I actually had to be at because I was part of them. But
Gen Con was new for me because it was my first Gen Con. I've never been to a Gen Con before. So, they were looking at me like going, oh, you've never been to a Gen Con before? This is the year that you're going to want to go. It was wow, so many people. It was my first one too, so it was really cool. Talked to a lot of people that it was their first one as well. I mean, you figure it's the first year they sold out, so it's kind of a big deal. But yeah, that was definitely a blast. When we first got started, Doug in the chat was saying that me and him actually played in one of the adventures you actually wrote, City on the Edge. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then one of the other, I think it was Zarif Gaming said he just ran that the other night. So,
oh, very cool. Yeah, I love hearing from people that actually played through my stuff. That was my first strange experience at Origins because the adventure had come out and I was wandering around. I think I just came from Bar 2 or something, and I wandered into the D&D room. It's like 10:30 at night, and there's a guy running at a table with a whole bunch of players, and he's shifting through everything and has all his notes and stuff. And I look down, I'm like, that's my map. Hey, that's my stuff. That type of thing that you never really see.
He's touching my stuff. No, I imagine that's got to be pretty surreal.
It is. It's very cool. It's very cool to see like complete strangers just kind of going through everything that you wrote, and they're having a great time. I got a lot of good feedback for it, which is nice because I don't have to be panicky about it anymore. Because I know it's a little different. A lot of people told me it was even Doug told me it was a little different from the initial number ones of the other seasons.
I honestly don't have a lot of experience with organized play, but when we played it, we had a lot of fun. It was a good game. We had a decent DM, good group of players. What
that's
you asked for?
That's really important with organized play. You want to get either a decent DM. Good DMs will make organized play 100 times better. And that's what I usually tell people that want to go in and run organized play is there's no such thing as bad DMs. Sit down and prepare, read the adventure, and figure out what you're going to do. Figure out some fun things that you want, and your players will have fun. That's bottom line.
Yeah, I find when the more the higher level people you play with, it really pushes your game, as well. For me, anyway, personally, when I see someone really role playing well, it makes me want to role play that much better.
Yep. And people get attached to their characters, which actually I guess is the opposite point of Tomb of Annihilation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get attached, isn't that what it says? Something like along those lines early on.
Yeah. It's built to be a little bit mean, a little hardcore. Never hurt anybody. I'm sorry. My computer's clicking at me.
Clicking at you.
No. Yeah. No. I'm actually
taking over.
No. I'm part of a Slack group with the rest of the Guild Adepts, and like random conversations just pop up. So my screen just like, hey, there's something going on over here.
Yeah, that can happen. So what are the selling points for Esper Genesis other than, if you're familiar with 5e, you can slide right into this game. What are the points, some of the pick out some of the touchstones that you really think make it stand out from other settings and other games?
The one thing that well, actually there's a few things that will make it stand out other than the fact that it's 5e. One is that the rules for weapons and starships and what we have as far as the options are really built to be fun and fast and directly compatible with everything else. The other thing is that we have a whole new setting to dive into. We put together a galaxy of planets. We have a slew of new interesting races and factions and classes. All of them interact with each other in particular ways. There are a lot of story branches and storylines. A lot of Esper Genesis is about story. It's about integrating everything into this really cool sci-fi setting, and at the same time being able to branch out to anywhere else. That was the other thing that we wanted to make sure that we do in the Esper Genesis is that it's infinite. We want to come out with a rule system that you can take and give you options to make a steampunk world. Giant mecha anime robots, and anything that you can think of that you find cool in sci-fi. It kind of started out with what are my favorite things in sci-fi, and then I said I wanted to build a game where anybody can take their favorite things and plug it into the system and play it without much of a learning curve. So that's one of the biggest points.
What are some of the races you came up with?
We have the Eldori, which are they were originally one race, and then actually I can explain the backdrop of the galaxy. There are these gigantic moon-sized I guess you could say machines. They're called crucibles that are in various points around the galaxy. And they generate an infinite power source that people access to power cities, power their weapons. They use it for faster than light speed travel. And over the next few centuries, people started attuning themselves to the energy that came out of these crucibles, and they started exhibiting abilities, the ability to control light, to control matter, to control gravity, to be able to shape elements. And these are the Espers that are in the game, each defined by a particular character class. All of this, as far as the setting, also incorporates into the races. The Eldari, for example, is half of a race that was called the Nasiv. Their crucible activated, it totally warped the ecology of their planet, and they just lost control of their abilities. They're like a humanoid plant-based species. And one side wanted to rebuild their ecosystem, and the other side said, we were given powers by, those beyond. Let's go conquer the galaxy with it. Obviously, those two things don't mesh. And that's what had happened.
Are you telling me you got conquesting plant people?
Yes.
Just checking.
Yes. I absolutely do. This also in turn have another race that is able to read the language that are on the crucibles, and they're like, well, we can't let these guys go and conquer the galaxy, so we're going to take the technology from the crucibles, and we're going to generate soldiers, which are called the Ashen Forged. This is another race. This war happened like a millennia ago, and afterwards they created these artificially intelligent living beings that are inside biogenetically created bodies. They're like, what are we going to do with them? They let them go off on their own and do their own thing.
I'm hearing Space War Forged.
Not to that extent. They are organic, so okay. So not gigantic walking hulks of armor.
So they're more like androids. They're
They're more like they're more like biotech cyborgs, I guess would be a good way to put them.
Cool.
Or organically generated alien species. I just came up with that. I don't know where that came from. We have the Madokai. The Madokai are a lizard people. They are very let's say they are very clan and honor based would be the best way to put them. They organize themselves into these factions, and they each generate them forge themselves into part of an organization to better propagate their species. We have the Kesh, who are a race of wanderers. They are space travelers who had lost their homeworld thousands of years ago. Their history comes to a certain point, and then it stops, and they're kind of looking for their history, but at the same time, they have no home to go to. So the Kesh are everywhere. They just travel around the galaxy and incorporate themselves into other species.
So I'm going to try and show off some of from the website. If you guys haven't gone there to check it out, the art is really fantastic. I don't know if you can see my screen or not, because for some reason screen share with the piece, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But there's your lizard guys, and that looks amazing.
Yep, that's the Stone Fang.
Yeah, like I'm loving the powered looking armor, and the spiky lizard humanoid. But one of the things that really stands out to me is the art, and we were talking about that a little bit beforehand. But sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
Oh, no.
I'm actually digging the stuff that you're laying down here. I'm gonna have to definitely check this out far more.
No, I want to know your thoughts too. Like I said, the art is we wanted to go with something that a lot of people. It's unique. but you can identify it. The art is done by for the characters and the races is done by a wonderful artist named Sandy Casas, who's also one of our backers. He is absolutely amazing, really friendly, really cool guy. Is really excited about the game, and we started putting everything together. We said, okay, he created a couple of pieces, and we worked back and forth to kind of work out the kinks. And then once the art came out, everybody looked at it, and everyone had something different to say about it. Everyone was like, oh, this looks like Mass Effect. And then somebody said, oh, this looks like Shadowrun. This looks like something. And that's what I wanted. I wanted somebody to be able to look at all the art and look at everything that we came out with and either say, this looks like something completely different than what the other person said, or this is new.
And also, right, you guys can download the basic rules. That's correct?
Yes. The basic rules it's a 160-page basic rule set. It covers the first 2 tiers of play. It is you do not need any other books to play Esper Genesis. You can download it through drivethrurpg.com. There's also an adventure we came out when we first announced Esper Genesis that has some rules attached to it too, called Follow the Eos Keldor. You can once you download this, you can start a game right away. It comes with 5 of the 9 races that we have planned for the game. It comes with 4 of the 8 classes that we have planned for the game, and some basics on starship rules, basics on zero-G combat, vehicles, things like that, and you can play with just that book.
So you can totally check out the amazing art. All you have to do is go to the website. There's a link in the description.
Yep.
The website is Castle Skydawn?
Yes, or actually you can just go to espergenesis.com.
Okay.
Yeah,
that works.
Espergenesis.com will take you straight to the page. In addition, if you go and download the basic rules, we also included an art pack that previews some of the art that we're going to be having in the core manual. The game itself is going to be 3 core books, very much like how D&D has its 3 core books. It's going to be a core manual, which is going to be races, classes, basic rules, how to play, combat, and all that other stuff for sci-fi. We have a threats database that's coming out, which is going to be your monster manual, and then we have not exactly a dungeon master's guide. It's a master technician's guide, and it's going to have some things on how to run a game. We're also going to include a lot of things like alternate rules for ship building, weapon modification, things like that. How to adapt a game to different genres.
Oh, cool. So, guys, let's we do a thing here where we find out where everyone's coming from in the roll call. So if you guys want to start the roll call, that'd be great. And in the meantime, Doug asked a question of what are Espers?
Espers are individuals who have started to attune themselves to the energies that come out of the crucibles. So there are, there are normal people of all different races, and then some of them, it doesn't really get chosen by race or or by anything, other than the fact that some people just start to exhibit abilities. They're able to harness the energy that's coming out of the crucible and take it and shape it in their own way. It starts usually uncontrolled. It's different for everybody, and then once people figure out what they're doing, they start learning what it means to be an Esper. Each of the character classes that are in Esper Genesis is an Esper, so they have different ways of exhibiting their powers. The specialist, for example, who has their own skills, kind of like a rogue, but with a module that they use that allows them to bend light around themselves, or control gravity, or do other different things. The engineer carries around a rig that has the energy inside, and they're able to automatically create nanobots, plasma weapons, things that just pop up into existence that they can use for mechanics. Meanwhile, you have the melders that are literally able to just pull matter out of the air and shape it into something. If they do it too much, or or they get tired, bad things can happen to them physically.
Oops.
But yeah, exactly. But yeah, each Esper has a different way of channeling their power.
Sweet. So I'm going to jump into the chat now and see where people are hanging out with us from. We got Frigginator in Washington. We have Dallas in the house with Jason. Mike Gould is one of our writers, as in Nova Scotia, Canada. We got Lincoln in Sweden. Virgilia in Utah. We have Kevin in Boston. We got DH in Kansas. We got Edmonton, Canada in the house with Holtz. Truemate is in Wales in the UK there. We got the Macabre Mother Lover and Bermuda Triangle. Gotta love screen names. We got AJ Kinney in Lopez Island, Washington. We've got Rodizio, New Mexico in the house with Zaref Gaming. We got Quebec, Canada in the house with Sylvain. Raven is in the OZ. We've got Kandahar from Comic Book University. Western Australia in the house with The One Lazy Guy. And Rick Grayson is in Orlando, Florida. And we got Northern Canada or California in the house with Jay. And so we got people weighing in from all over the place, which is always really cool. And there's several of them have already downloaded the free rules to check out. So they're awesome. getting ready to get started on their Esper Genesis adventures.
Awesome, hey, everybody, and shout out to the guy in Florida. Go Florida. Of course, I'm going to say that, even though, like, technically, I've only been here for a few years. I'm a New Yorker.
You're from up by us, man. Just up the turnpike from us. We're actually based out of New Jersey.
Okay.
So yeah, excellent, cool. So, how long have you been working on this project?
We started this. Well, again, we just kind of putting together the rules and stuff was kind of when DM's Guild got started, but as a project itself, Esper Genesis got started around June or July last year.
Okay.
That's when we announced it at Gen Con 2016. That's when we initially came up with the name, the concept, and what we were doing for it. So it's been interesting. Again, like, you know, looks nothing like where we started with it. But we feel that it's gonna be a whole lot better. Once we launched the Kickstarter, that's when we finalized exactly what we were gonna do with 3 books, what we were putting together, the races, the classes, and everything, and the universe itself.
Now, are these all digital products, or will they also be physical products?
Oh no, they're going to be physical products. Absolutely, we are going to release them as PDFs, but they are going to be 3 hardcover books. The Kickstarter backers are going to get some maps. We had some interesting things, you know, in a Kickstarter. Like you know, one of the guys was able to get himself to get his likeness done as like one of the major character classes, and you know, I'm also building a few starships for for a couple of backers. But we also have custom dice. We have a physical screen that is coming out. We have some physical maps that are also available. If anybody wants to pre-order the game, which you can do from the website, you can. If you pre-order anything that includes the core books, you're going to get the PDFs for free. That's one of the advantages of pre-ordering the game.
Oh, cool. That's definitely it's always a nice get. And then also you don't have to wait too. That is one of the things that I used to love that Watch used to do, but it doesn't do anymore, is being able to buy the physical books and the PDFs at the same time.
At the same time, yeah. Yeah, we kind of, I mean, we want to go back to that, but we're doing it special. Like, if we're coming out with something and you pre-order it, then yeah, you know, you get the PDF right away. You know, no problem. You know, other than that, then it's going to be kind of the same thing where everything sells separately, because we are going to put the PDFs up for sale on you know, RPG Now or Drive-Thru RPG, like everything else is now.
When are you expecting the books to be released?
We plan on having them out for a December release. If you notice, so I keep every time we get a new piece of art, I push it out somewhere to somebody on my Twitter feed. Like, we have all this art now. So we are actually putting together the last bits of the core manual, and then We're also putting outlines together for the other 2 books. We're planning on having December release, and then in the beginning of the year, we want to start putting out things like adventures, official adventures for Crucible 4, and probably another few supplements to add on to the game. We're also working on a setting primer, because you have the basic rules, but it's still, in the end, once it gives you, it spells out the races and the classes in the universe. It gives you the rules that you need to play. We want to put together a free PDF that also introduces the galaxy and introduces the different planets, the Silrain Arc, and how they operate together and how the races function together. So it makes it easier for a dungeon master to open everything up and already have everything there to create a game.
Okay. If you ever wanted to run like a one-shot or something, I think I know some place you might be able to do that, and people will come watch it. So just throwing it out there.
Okay. I wouldn't mind. I mean, I've been trying to run at conventions as much as possible, but yeah, I never really had a recorded game session of anything. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to run a one shot.
Nice. It seems like it'd be a really fun setting to dig my teeth into. I know Doug's enjoying it. So if you're interested, we could get some of the other Nerdarchy guys and some of our staff writers on board and have a game if you liked.
That would be cool.
So
I'm totally down. Let me know.
Right now, because I need more games in my life. Right now, I'm playing a Marvel Phase Rip game Monday nights.
Wow.
Tonight I run a D&D game, and then we have a collab game we do for Saver Dice, which is also another D&D game, and then our in-person games we run like three a month, I guess. On Saturdays. So they're 2 5e games and an FFG Star Wars game. So I try to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, those are actually probably right now the 2 games that I play the most often too. Is 5e and FFG Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, obviously 5e has become a big thing for me. So I gotta play it as much as I can. I have my one of my business partners. He's running Out of the Abyss right now for us, so we're getting into that, and it's look through all that stuff, and I plan on running my Guild Adept stuff too.
It's a lot of stuff to run.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff to run. Well, the Guild Adept adventures, Chris Lindsay announced yesterday that they are Adventurers League legal. So like now you can go and download any of those and play them just like you're playing the Tomb of Annihilation hardcover, right? Like that. So that was really exciting because we were able to put stuff together that's like, hey, we have official content for Adventurers League now that we're going to be cranking out.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely cool. Like, so now that stuff's going to get see the light of day even more. Now the Adventure League people can grab that. So if you guys are running Adventure League, your options have just expanded. So you can check that out. Speaking of Chris Lindsay, did you see his wife's tattoo?
I have not.
It's actually really cool. She's got like the D&D ampersand on her back, and then she's got all these patches of scales. So it looks like the scales are kind of like breaking through the skin.
That sounds awesome. I will totally not get my girlfriend to do that ever, but it sounds awesome.
Oh,
so I'm going to have to mention that to him.
yeah. I just saw it go by in my feed the other day, and I was like, oh, that is pretty sweet looking. So Zarif Gaming wants to know which of the Star Wars games are you guys playing in?
Oh, Edge of the Empire. We're playing right now. Briefly, it kind of happens like every couple of weeks or so when we find the time to get together to do it. But I have my own homebrew Edge of the Empire game that's going on that actually came from an old Saga Edition Star Wars game. Anybody that ever ran that game. So yeah, that's what I'm running right now. I like the I enjoy Star Wars, but I like the gritty, backwoods galaxy kind of adventure. That's
Me too. Everybody I play with wants to be Jedis. I'm like, F Jedis. They're lame.
Jedis.
We played 2 games so far, and I've been like anti-Jedi each time. And we when we play, we just mix all the things together.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a couple of my players, they have stuff from the other 2 books. They have stuff from Age of Rebellion and and Force of Destiny, and it's they're all you can integrate them pretty easily. So it's nice, but the core of it is like definitely Edge of the Empire. Send them to the back end of the galaxy and have weird, interesting things happen.
Yeah, I would rather play almost like a Firefly game using like the Edge of the Empire than Star Wars.
Shameless plug. You can do that with Esper Genesis. Really
absolutely. But yeah, but that's the other thing too. Like with Esper Genesis, if you're familiar with the 5e rules, you can slip right into that. Where a game like, and that also means that Esper Genesis has to be more on the rules light side, I would think. Is that correct?
Yes. Rules light to a certain extent. So it's kind of like we also had to make rules for the galaxy to function. Right, so there has to be rules for automatic weapons. What do they do? How does recoil work? How do shield devices work and things like that. So I did that, but I left enough room to say, and I even put it in little paragraphs in the core manual. You know what? If you want to do something else and you want to get rid of it, just get rid of it. If you want to make laser rifles instead of machine guns. It's one sentence. Here's how you do laser rifles. That's it.
Well, the other thing I was going to say about FFG Star Wars, it's a great system, but it's very crunchy. So you have to like that. And I know some people just hate it because of the narrative dice, the custom dice, which whatever, I don't mind.
I don't mind it.
But at this point, like they've put out so much content for that game. Like I think they're trying to keep up with Paizo at this point. Because there's a stack of Star Wars books you could hide behind.
Mm-hmm. I own the 3 main books and like 1 supplement. That's it. I just never bought anything else.
The guy that's running for us is like an addict for the Star Wars stuff. Including the minis, and he has like everything.
Jeez.
But
I miss my Star Wars minis. I gotta admit, I used to have the old ones, and I think I gave them away when I moved.
Rick Grayson has a question about Esper Genesis organized play.
Go for it.
That's his question. Will it be a thing, I guess?
Oh, yeah, organized play is already a thing. Actually, we're waiting until the core manual is officially released before we start releasing the adventures for to the general public. We've been running Crucible Core we ran it at Origins, we ran it at Gen Con, we're going to be running it at every convention that we go to. And Origins was actually the beginning of organized play. We had people that got together for Origins. They didn't really know that what they were doing when they made characters, and we had them run through the initial Crucible Core adventure was they were establishing the factions for Crucible Core.
Okay.
So we want organized play to be something like that, where major things will happen where this is what changes in the galaxy when this major event happens. But yeah, organized play is definitely going to be a thing. We are going to be having signups and giving out Crucible Core serial numbers, which is what we have planned ahead. We're also looking into getting anything that we write converted into Fantasy Grounds. I know Fantasy Grounds is a big thing for people. And making maps and things available for Roll20, because we started noticing that a lot of people just play online, and it's a market that a lot of games miss.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a good point. At this point, like most of my games happen online, so I guess in a month I'm 12 of the 15 games I play in are all online. So
that's not good when you can't get people together.
Yeah, it just makes it easier. It cuts out the travel time. I find that, you know, gaming online really condenses the session, and, you know, you get a lot less of the side chatter and joking around and messing around. I mean, I enjoy that stuff too, but focused gaming.
I agree. Oh, my original version of online play was when I first moved down here. I was running a game in New York. When I moved out here, we didn't want to stop playing. So, so my table still gathered in the same gaming store in New York, and I became like a max headroom. Like they just put a laptop at the end of the table.
That's great. That, you know, that's a great visual. Do you have pictures from like the gaming store of like the group at the game playing, and you're just your head on the table?
I don't. It's impossible for me to take a picture of their laptop. So
No. I know if anyone else had done it, that would be a cool picture to have.
I don't know. I'd have to ask.
I mean, obviously you can't do it without, you know, superpowers or time travel or something.
Nope. I mean, I could have secretly hacked the camera.
Some Inception. Hack the security system to the game store.
To the game store.
And take pictures to their security.
May not have had me at the time, but I missed those days.
So it sounds like your plate's going to be kind of full for a while, just with getting Esper Genesis out.
Esper Genesis has been taking up a lot of time. We also, you know, DM's Guild Adepts. We have more stuff coming out. That initial string is just the beginning. We have more stuff coming out for that. And yeah, I'm working on a like I told you, there's a big project that I'm working on that I can't say anything about because I'm under the NDA, but I'll probably be talking about that in a couple of months as well.
Well, you know, you have an open invitation to come back and talk about it when your lips become unsealed.
I'll be more than happy to.
What games are you playing in now?
Other than I don't really have too much time to play, so I run some, you know, I run one shots when I can. Like I said, my friend Brian is running Out of the Abyss, which is my regular weekly game, and then occasionally I get a Star Wars game together, and it's really all I have time for. I would love to game more. I really would. I have games that I own on my shelf that I've never even cracked open yet that that I would love to run, but I just don't have the time.
I know that feeling all too well. So what are you playing in the Out of the Abyss game?
I am playing a half-drow paladin. So we decided to when Brian, just like me, he likes to do his own thing when he runs his games. So he said the way Out of the Abyss is supposed to work is that everyone's supposed to make, like, you know, regular D&D fantasy characters, and then they all venture into the Underdark and things happen that way. Brian said, no, everyone's going to make Underdark characters. So we all made Underdark type characters. Most of us are just completely out of whack for, you know, what you would expect from anything else, and we're venturing down there as like we are trying to save our home. And then like we had an event where I hope I'm not spoiling anything for anybody, but I'm just talking in general, you know, where we actually venture to the you know, the overworld, the world with no ceiling. and that actually became really cool because we were just foreigners in a fantasy land. So it was a different way of interacting with D&D that we, you know, we liked. We spent a lot of time up there, more time than we should have, I think.
So Oath of Vengeance, maybe?
Nope. I went Devotion.
Oh, nice.
I had a whole history behind that character. He was, you know, like enslaved by his drow family because he was, you know, obviously not acceptable. And, you know, eventually I had encountered someone that had gotten me out of my situation, and through them I found, you know, I followed their faith and became a Devotion paladin.
You found religion.
Which is really nice when, you know, when I walk, you know, my character walks around and they're like, it's a drow, he's gonna kill us, and I'm like, no, I'm an honorable guy.
Hey, buddy, half drow. I'm only going to half kill you.
Yep, I get shifty eye every time I'm walking around. This guy, full of it or what?
What does the rest of the party look like?
Well, we have a Snurf Neblin. Well, okay, so the way the party originally started, we had a Snurf Neblin rogue, which is the only. Oh no, we have that. We have a half orc barbarian. And the rest of the party was like, we had a Dragonborn, we had a Darkling, and they were all basic classes. And then for some, the players just started, their schedules changed or the characters died and they just didn't come back. And then all of a sudden we just started building a party of rogues. Every new player that came in, okay, what do you guys need? I'll make a rogue. So we have a bugbear rogue, we have 2 goblin rogues. and me and it's me, a barbarian, and 4 rogues, and so you can see how fun it is being a paladin in that
group. Your party seems a little rogue deficient.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have enough rogues.
You guys have a traveling thieves guild. That's what you actually have.
The DM is torturing us because he knows we have no basic spellcasters in the group. So
yeah, but with 4 rogues and a paladin, oh my god, the amount of damage you can do in 1 round.
Yeah.
So like a couple of things.
It's insane. We just have to get to them first.
Well, that's true. But like, if doing the solo monster, forget about it. That thing just explodes.
Yeah. He tried that on us once. He never tried it again.
Yeah. I can imagine. That is a lot of freaking damage.
Well, 120.
As we said, an hour goes by really fast, and we're right up at that mark. So if you want to leave any parting words of those people hanging out with us, feel free to.
Sure. Again, I'll apologize early. Like I said, I ramble a lot, so that's why my hour goes fast. If you have any questions at all about Esper Genesis, take a look at the website. Join the newsletter. Send me an email. You can find me on Twitter. I am at, or you can look me up by name, Rich Lescouflair, or I'm also at Skydawn1. There's a Esper Genesis Facebook group that you can go to, and I enjoy talking to gamers. I enjoy talking to anybody, like fellow gamers are often very interesting, extremely friendly. It's the same as industry people. If you have any questions for me at all, feel free to ask. I am here, and I'm really excited about what I do, and I'm interested in helping any way I can.
Awesome. So, guys, many of those links you can find in the description below. Go check them out. I want to thank you for hanging out with me today, Rich. I want to thank everyone else for hanging out with us in the chat today. So until next time, guys, stay nerdy.
Thanks for having me on.